Hello, everyone, and welcome to the greatest Gillcast ever. I'm Davis Maddock, joined by Nate Noling, joined by Sammy Reed. We got a group collective sweat here. You know, guys, the last couple weeks, our text thread has just been, it's been depressing. It's only been commiserating and tilting. You know, we haven't been, literally, actually, Sammy, you and I were in this exact same position. I don't remember if it was 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago. It was the Travis Kelce 8 for 86 game, and we're sitting there just willing him to get the bonus. We're saying, Travis, please, anything. We love you. Come on, anything. And he gets it, and then the holding call comes, and it comes back. But we got there this week, bud. We all got there. Well, Nate, you instantly got there. You didn't even have to watch the games this afternoon. You've just been hanging out, eating bonbons. Yep.
Yeah, it's been a nice afternoon.
Nate, I have to say, I was ready to criticize you when you said you went Galaxy Brain, but your decision immediately after lock was so much better than Sammy and I's team. Honest to God, you just made the better play.
Yeah, I felt good about it this week. I mean, the ultimate move for me that made me win was I went Ridley over Kelce. I just thought Kelce was getting to the price now where it's like, when you pay $8K for a tight end because he's putting up wide receiver numbers, it makes sense. But when we have legitimate wide receivers at the same price tag that are getting more volume and Ridley was a smash spot here. So I felt much better about going Ridley and a 3K punt tight end than paying up at tight end and punting at wide receiver. I still had to punt at another wide receiver spot, but yeah, I felt good about that.
So Nate, are you trying to tell us that you did not feel good about playing Traquan Smith in cash? Is that would that be accurate?
That would be part of it. I think when you look at Drew Brees coming back with 10 broken ribs, going for 3 Saints on that offense maybe didn't make me feel great. So I felt much better with.
Well, you know what? You should have just done what Sammy and I wanted to do, which was play 3 Cowboys. So here, real quick before we get too far deep into this, let's just say the scores. Nate, an otherworldly 182.52. Hats off to the guy. Crushed everyone. Don't think Nate lost too much of anyone in this slate. And then Sammy and I played the exact same team that scored 170.12. We all played Jalen Hurts. We all played Derrick Henry. We all played Tony Pollard. We all played Manny Sanders. And we all played Alvin Kamara. And then the 2 wide receiver slots, tight end and defense, were different. So let's just start here, talk a little bit about our guy, Jalen Hurts. I actually, this was a late swap for me. I mean, I love Jalen Hurts, but I had planned on playing Lamar or Kyler, both who would have been fine for most of the slate. But this Tony Pollard news, I got to rank it as one of the most fortuitous things that's ever happened to me. I mean,
oh God, we were ready to play Cam Akers. Cam Akers, the Rams lost to the Jets. Imagine the tilt that we would be going through. Everybody listening, we're so sorry that this happened because that would have been an all-time show for you guys, us tilting the Rams.
They might have gotten a Leonard Fournette. They might have gotten a Leonard Fournette play from Sammy too, which turned out okay.
But really should not have been. I mean, the Leonard Fournette. If you're listening to this and you played Leonard Fournette, first of all, you suck. Second of all, you're bad. Third of all, what an insane suck out. So,
the people were robbed yet again because if I had played Fournette and I just the entire podcast was guys, it's really more of an art, I mean, you just would have been tilting your testicles right off. And the people really needed that. I'm sorry, everybody. Tony Pollard won us money, but really lost us equity in the funness of the show.
But the Tony Pollard thing became such a stone cold lock. I loved it that when things flipped and I saw his ownership, I was like, dude, if this news came out Tuesday that week, he would have been 60% owned.
Yeah, well, let's talk about that because I'm sure. I mean, he ended up being
he wasn't owned enough. I played 100% Tony Pollard, every GPP lineup, every cash lineup, FanDuel, DraftKings, both. He was not owned enough. I was seeing him in single entry contests at 20%. Here, let me pull up the massive $25 double up. My guess
He was 32
is,
in that.
I mean,
Yeah,
like this
But
is,
it was cascading lower to the lower ownerships. Like in the $5 double up, I
Yep.
think he was like 22. And I bet if I surveyed like cash games or head-to-heads, I bet it was less than 25. So not enough people got on him. And it was just,
Well, let's talk a little bit for people listening. Try to, just give some like constructive, actual actionable advice here. The reason why Pollard became a lock. And for me, it was kind of like, imagine Ezekiel Elliott was actually good and
didn't have a good backup.
Right, and he didn't have a good backup. And he was 5,200 at home against, a kind of whatever Niners team. That was kind of the thesis. Like, just imagine Ezekiel Elliott 2 years ago, or 3 years ago, 3 years ago was 5,200. It would just be a lock. And that was kind of the simple way that I put it to myself. What were you guys thinking in terms of like, is he a lock or is he just a good play? Because really that spot was going to guys like Cam Akers, who's going to be insanely popular. I think there was going to be some Jonathan Taylor ownership, et cetera, et cetera.
No, for me, it was a lock. I mean, when you look at Cam Akers and some of those other guys that people were playing, I mean, Cam Akers, his snap rate, we had no idea. Like, obviously, the last couple weeks it's been trending up, but it could have been anywhere in this game. When Tony Pollard is announced, or when Zeke is announced out and it's Tony Pollard, he is like a lock for all these Zeke workload plus some. And then there's no backup threatening him, where all the Zeke downside this year has been that there's A, he's fat, B, he sucks, and C, there's Tony Pollard.
And
so
D, his body is riddled with coronavirus. I mean,
I mean, he just is not good anymore. He's gone full post knee girly, right? Like he's useless.
That's kind of it, right? That's kind of it. You see these guys that just had that extra like little burst and could actually break things off, and all of a sudden they just go to a guy who literally like churns out like 2 to 4 yards a carry, and he's been getting by on volume. And when his volume goes away, like it did this year with Pollard, all of a sudden he's pretty useless. And then Pollard gets it all. Dude, Pollard's fresh. Pollard can break stuff off. When's the last time
he's good. And Pollard is good. Like so this is it for me. One, the other running backs on the roster, Rico Dowdle and Sewu Oluwina, zero NFL carries between them. Right. So we're talking about he's the only experienced NFL running back. It was a close spread. So I wasn't worried about, Garrett Gilbert having to come into this game. I did not think that the Cowboys were going to get blown out. They ended up winning, and that's going to come into a decision that Sammy and I are going to have to talk about a little bit later. Also, even if so obviously Tony Pollard has really good efficiency stuff right now, like very high yards per target, very high yards per carry when we plugged him into our back end stuff at Daily Roto. And even if you regressed him down to like you gave him Zeke's yards per carry and Zeke's yards per target, he still looked incredible. And I thought he would do better than that, which he did. He had 60 receiving yards. And I know people are going to be like, oh, he sucked out at the touchdown run at the end. He had 20 DK points before that. So I don't accept that.
He was their leading target guy. He was their leading catch guy. And he had a 30-yard reception and a 40-yard rush. And that's Zeke. When's the last time Zeke had a 30-yard play? I don't think he's had one all season. And Pollard had 2 in this game. I think that just shows you, like, we deal a lot in efficiency, in volume, and not that much in efficiency. But at the end of the day, like, sometimes big plays make or break your day. And the fact that Pollard is clearly capable of them and Zeke no longer is, I think made this just such a clear play that we had to get him in.
Yeah, I mean, I thought I've been waiting for Tony Pollard to start a game since last year. There was no way I was going to let this opportunity pass me up. Like, I just was all in.
Think of this just like, so I have a keeper league where I have both Zeke and Pollard, and I'm definitely a bad person, but I've been hoping that like Zeke tears an ACL or gets outright released, because I would rather keep Pollard without Zeke there than keep Zeke. You know what I mean? Like, we're at that point. Yeah.
All right, so let's talk about quarterback now. Started out the week thinking, what was the optimal lineup before the Pollard news was Kyler, Henry, Drake, Kamara, Ayuk, Manny, Gallup, Seahawks defense. And that lineup actually had the 500 that you could choose between Kyler or Lamar.
They both did great.
Yeah, that would, and they both did really good. I think that those lineups also would have cashed double ups. What did Drake end up doing? Was he bad or did he do good?
I'm pretty sure he was bad. Let me look this up real fast. Drake had
You don't need to look it up.
10 for 20. Oh my God, he had 38 total yards.
Yeah. Wait, so who were you saying the third running back chalk would have been if it wasn't for?
Not chalk. I'm just saying both the Daily Roto Optimal and Cardi stuff had the exact same, and it was Kyler, Drake, Kamara, Henry, Brandon Ayuk. Cardi had Denzel Mims. Our stuff had Michael Gallup as a cheap wide receiver, Sanders, Cole Kmet. And
I think a lot of people would have landed on Akers there. I think I would have, honestly. Like, we're joking about Fournette, but I don't think I would have ended up there.
Yeah. Yeah, I get the Akers thing. When the Tony Pollard news came out, it allowed you to get off of the higher price QB to down and then up to either Kelsey or, I went Ridley, but off of Ayuk, because you wouldn't have been able to play Ayuk plus Kelsey. So that's what the Pollard news allows you to do.
I literally spent all morning trying to get Ayuk and Kelsey. Like, that was like what I was trying so hard to do. And honestly, I landed on this lineup that Davis and I played, and I really didn't like it. And I think it's an enormously flawed lineup. And I think, honestly, we ran pretty good there at the end, buddy.
No. You mean Jalen Hurts getting 41 points is not running good?
Yes, we ran good, but we ran about as bad as possible with our New Orleans Saints players and with our 2v2.
That's because our play was egregious. So, we can.
Yeah, we did play really terribly. So let's get into this 2v2.
Well, hold on. Let's go over running back just a little.
Yeah, I want to stay on running back for a minute.
So honestly, I legitimately considered not playing Derrick Henry.
Thank you. So did I.
Okay, so I want you to talk about it a little bit because I was really close. Like, I literally had the lineup to swap to on, and it was just like, do I confirm or not? And I just ended up like not pulling the trigger and walking away and going outside to vape furiously after lock hit.
Well, I actually thought there were other running backs that like had a lot of upside and didn't have the game script like risk. I thought that Dalvin Cook and David Montgomery were two guys that I really, really liked this week before the Pollard news. The only reason I landed on Henry was, number one, the builds like didn't make any sense with Cook and Montgomery. And I couldn't find one that I liked with those two. And so that's kind of why I ended on Henry. But what was Henry?
9.5.
9.5 for Henry. You needed this game from Henry. Like,
if he didn't, okay, so here's the thing. Yes, you needed quote unquote this game, but Ryan Tannehill had 2 rushing touchdowns and threw a 1-yard touchdown to Darrington Evans, who was uncovered. Henry, he could have had 40.
He could have had an all-timer.
Yeah, like, so I'm not doing this. Derrick Henry was clearly the right play.
Okay,
Davis, at 9.5, the fragility that it takes for him to hit this point, like, is so much higher than these guys who are 7K. All right, so do we want to go over what what running backs have done to the Lions?
Well, let's just talk about how mentally weak we are that we all faded Derrick Henry last week at 8.7.
At 8.7 and played him at 9.5.
And we're like, you know what, dude? I can't handle another week like that.
But here's the thing. I didn't play him last week because he wasn't in our optimals. This week, he was the highest projected player. He projected for more points than the quarterbacks this week for us.
Make the projections?
What?
Don't you make the projections?
Well, I do a lot of the inputs, but like algorithmically in terms of like efficiency and defense stuff, no, I don't do anything to do with that. That's all based on stuff that has happened this season, and it shifts as teams shift.
The reason I didn't play Henry last week was because Cook was a better play last week based on, I mean, Madison was out. It was like last week was a totally different slate. Like in this week with Madison being back, Cook versus Chicago, like it wasn't as clear to me that Cook was a better play. But and we also had Devontae last week. There wasn't like, I don't know, this week felt different. But I did like legit 20 minutes before lock go, like, am I really playing Derrick freaking Henry?
At 9.5. I was so close. I mean, I don't know. The guy I would have swapped to is Cam Akers, so I'm glad that didn't happen, honestly. But I didn't think that Akers was that different. I'm like similar implied team total, home favorites, like with just should have great game script. And
did you look at Cook or Montgomery at all? I loved those two guys.
Let me just so I didn't look at. I mean, I looked at Cook and I pivoted to him in several tournaments because I didn't think that he was that much worse than Henry, but I thought Henry was just like clearly a little better with Madison back in. And I did not look at David Montgomery. David Montgomery feels like Bitcoin right now. Like,
dude, you got to just buy the all-time high on David Montgomery. You'd be so rich.
Buy the all-time high because the next week it just keeps going up. I mean, it's just like, when is this going to come back down?
It is incredible. I don't even have any like mean or nasty things to say about him. Like, he's just playing incredible, and good for him. I'm very excited to not draft him in the second round of high stakes fantasy football leagues next year.
Oh my God. I mean, he literally had 32 rushes for 146 yards and 2 touchdowns today. I mean, he was the big dog.
He was the big dog.
And the price just keeps going up, and you're like, well, I can't buy at this price. Like, it's going to go back down, and it never does. It's like we need to start just buying. I mean, we're already buying Bitcoin, which is why we're all like happier than a dog with 2 dicks.
Yeah, it's 2020 has been bad for a lot of people, but it really hasn't been that brutal for me.
I mean, yeah, right here at the end, we're starting to moon a little bit. Like, things are turning out okay.
Yeah,
just give me the vaccine, and I'm ready to run pure the rest of my life, baby. Let's go.
Yeah.
So the other reason, like Sammy, you've talked about this a lot, is like if you don't play a guy in GPP, like you shouldn't feel that great about him in cash. In all of my GPP teams, I had 0 Henry. I had a lot of Montgomery, I had a lot of Kamara, I had a lot of obviously 100% Pollard, but I had 0 Henry in GPP, and like I don't know, at 9.5, like I just did not think there was much. I don't feel good about playing Henry in cash. I did it.
But, okay, so that's true. I think, Nate, what you're saying is more applicable for value plays, because if someone's cheap and you think they should get points, you should be playing them in tournaments. I think it's very different when it's the absolute most expensive player, because 32, let's say 32. Let's say Henry gets that last touchdown that Darrington Evans gets, and Henry gets 32. He still is not going to be in that many of the optimal lineup combinations because he's so expensive. But 32 for cash is like you're rolling in it. You're like, it's beautiful.
Yeah, I get that. I don't know. This is probably the last time I'll play Henry again. I mean, this tag is insane. He's 9.5.
I mean, don't they play the Jets or something though?
On a slate with Devontae, I'm just not going to do it.
I think they play the Packers.
They do play the Packers. Okay, so that'll be a good place to not play him.
Yeah, because people will still play him because they have a quote unquote bad rush defense. But that's, again, we already know that that's a game that if Tennessee gets down, that the game script could go out of Henry's way, and then he's useless. So
yeah, for sure.
All right. Let's get to our 2v2. Let's talk about these receivers.
All right. So
this is egregious.
So this is the lineup that Sammy and I played as a whole: Jalen Hurts, Derrick Henry, Tony Pollard, Emmanuel Sanders, Traquan Smith, Lynn Bowden Jr., Travis Kelce, Alvin Kamara, and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers defense. The obvious problem there is you're going, oh, well, we have all these Saints. We're not playing Drew Brees. We're not even playing Mahomes. So why are we playing 3 members of the New Orleans Saints? I didn't really consider Kamara part of that, because you're just like, dude, Kamara's going to get there, right? Like you're not really worried about Kamara getting there. It turns out he ran.
Even if you don't consider Kamara, it's still egregious because you have noodle-armed ass Drew Brees, who's coming off like this egregious rib injury, and you're going to be like, oh yeah, I'm going to play 2 of his wide receivers. Like, that is just a terrible, awful idea. I feel really bad. Like, we got lucky because this was a complete fish move to play both of these guys in cat, because then you have 3 Saints. And I know Kamara's not really part of that, but he's going to lower the ceiling because they only have so many yards in them. They only have so many receptions in them. And the reality is, like,
turns out they really don't have that many receptions in them when Drew Brees completes 19% of his passes.
Oh my God. I mean, we got lucky to get like 2 or 3 Manny Sanders catches there at the end, but like Traquan, you texted me, you're like, oh, Traquan got hurt. Oh no. And it's like, who cares?
Who cares? Literally, who cares?
Yeah, it wasn't going to do anything anyways. Like, what does it matter if he's on the field or not?
So our 2v2 was we opted to play Traquan Smith and the Buccaneers defense instead of Michael Gallup and the Cowboys defense, which was, I mean, not good. It didn't make sense when we clicked in, and it didn't make sense now. I mean, we had at DR, we had Gallup I think a point or 2 better than Traquan even. Like it was not good. It was, Sammy, it was bad of us.
It was very bad, and we should feel bad. And I don't know how we won, honestly. I don't know.
Well, we won because Jalen Hurts went full Greg Jennings and put the team on his back. God. That's why.
That sweat at the end when we were sweating those 7 yards, and he went 0 for 6, and then on 4th down he hits it and then gets more points. Kamara gets the touchdown at the end. All this is in the late games. And then what else happened? Sanders got a bunch of catches. Kelsey got several catches and a 2-pointer on the last 5 minutes of these games. We got super lucky.
So let's say this. And so the 2v2, Gallup and the Cowboys, that is 2 touchdowns, right? Traquan, 3.5 points. Buccaneers, 3 points. It was an 18-point swing. We would have beaten Nate's team with the 2v2, even though he owned us that hard with his Cole Kmet, Calvin Ridley 2v2.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the defense. So I had this exact decision.
The Buccaneers, bro.
Oh, so bad. How did they win? So I had this exact decision, not just in DFS, but also in an important seasonal matchup: Arizona defense versus Tampa Bay defense. I ended up going with Tampa Bay in both, and Arizona completely mollywopped. I mean, they allowed a bunch of points, but they had 18 fantasy points. They had 6 or 7 sacks or something like this, a couple of block kicks. And so I think they were 2.9, I want to say, on DK. Why didn't we go with Arizona? I don't know. I wrestled with that one all week, and at the end I was like, dude, Matt Ryan sucks. Matt Ryan's going to do some dumb shit. Matt Ryan's awful. The Eagles might just run the ball too much. Was kind of my thinking. What was your thinking? Did you ever consider the Cardinals defense? I guess it was Washington football team. It was Washington football team.
It was Cowboys or the Buccaneers or the Seahawks. And the Cowboys, I thought, made the most sense just because I think Nick Mullins is such garbage. And I'm really tilting at Sammy because we just were so close to just the absolute, just the absolute stone nuts.
Stones.
We really were. This was a bad decision, Davis. I don't know what led us to play Traquan Smith here in the year of our Lord 2020 as the 3rd Saint in our lineup. It was just so bad. But can we talk about the Bucs being so false? How did they lose? How did they win this game?
Because literally just the only explanation is Falcons. The only explanation is just LOL Falcons.
Yeah, the Falcons were terrible, but you guys still should have played Ridley, and I think you guys should feel bad for not.
I don't feel bad because Kelsey has just been such a Kelsey had a bad game today and got 21. I don't feel bad, but you clearly sharped it, dude. I mean, Ridley Kmet was so good.
Even though Kelsey is Kelsey and putting up a historic season at tight end, he's still not a wide receiver. When you have a wide receiver who's running routes that are 15 yards down the field every single time, getting the same amount of targets, it's just those are higher value targets, even if they're not coming from Patrick Mahomes, because of the position that he plays and the routes that he runs, that paying wide receiver prices for a tight end doesn't make sense. And Sammy, you hate.
Well, it does. Okay, so it does. It does when your 2v2 doesn't include Traquan Smith. Like when you're looking at Cole Kmet versus Traquan Smith, your side 100% the correct side. But when your 2v2 is I don't know, what's the worst tight end we've played this year, Sammy?
Gosh, I've played so many bad ones.
Here you go. When it's Chris Herndon and when it's Chris Herndon and Mike Evans, it totally makes more sense to play for the tight end. But you are correct. In this slate, it was bad. It was because I actually thought that Cole Kmet should be projected pretty aggressively. Like I really liked Cole Kmet. I might have even liked Cole Kmet straight up over Traquan. No, he had 2 catches on the first drive.
I know. I was so hyped. I was like, dude, he's gonna get 15 points.
Well, so the way I was gonna go, I thought Ayuk was a legit. I know he was gonna be popular, and I don't know what he ended up being owned, but he was the guy that I thought, wow, you can kind of get away with paying $6,300 for a number 1 wide receiver. And that was the guy.
Ayuk was a great play.
That was
the second highest owned play on the slate, I think.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna do instead of going with 3 crap wide receivers. I was gonna play Ayuk as my number 1, and I just couldn't find a lineup that I liked, because then when you go so far down at tight end, then you have this extra money, and then it's like, oh, what am I gonna do? Like pay up for Mahomes, pay up for Lamar? I just didn't feel like that was correct on this slate. What am I gonna do? Pay up for DST? I just didn't like what I could do with that money. And honestly, I just ran out of time before lock, and I was like, well, screw it. Like, I'm just going to, play Kelsey and hope I get there. But I was kind of lost. Ayuk was the guy I liked a lot.
So Ayuk I'd love too, but he didn't make sense in the Pollard lineup though. Like once it became possible to play an 8K guy, it just didn't make very much sense.
Right. And I think, and that was another part of my problem is I should have considered Ridley harder, because I was like, oh, look, like if I don't play Kelsey, I'm not going in there with no Chiefs. Like I'm going to play Tyreek Hill. And I should have just not been such a puss about it and done what Nate did and been like, yeah, I'm okay with Ridley. The offense literally goes through him whenever Julio's out. And it did again today. And it did last week. And it continues to do so. Like, figure it out, Sammy.
Yeah, I think all of that does make sense. I mean, Nate, talk a little bit about the Ridley process, because obviously Sammy and I weren't even considering it.
So Ridley's a guy who, if we look at like since week 10, and I think Julio has been around for a game or two, but since week 10, like Ridley's, I think, 3rd in Whopper. It's like Michael Thomas, Brandon Ayuk, Ridley, and Devontae. Except Ridley runs routes that are like abnormal for a number 1 wide receiver. He runs deep down the field routes. He's got like a 15.8 ADOT over that same sample, where the rest of those guys are all under 10. So it's not just that he gets targets, it's that he's legit running these like high value routes. So his upside is insane. I mean, his air yards over that sample is like, I think it's like 3rd in the league or something like that. And it's combined with a really, really high target share. So when it's like a great floor, but also just like unbelievable ceiling at 8.2. He was just, with no Devontae, with no like clear jamming alphas, he was the guy. Michael Thomas being out this week and other things like that. I mean, yeah, I loved Ridley. I think I felt like as soon as the Pollard news came out, I think I texted you guys and just said, I feel great. Like, I want this.
You did. You were pumped on your lineup. You knew
it. I felt good too, honestly. Like even with Henry not having the greatest game, we haven't even talked about Lynn Bowden Jr. because there were other cheap wide receivers, and I assume that
I played him. And you told me I was a fish because that was my other swap from you guys, which I don't think it matters which 3.5K wide receiver you
Did you play Mims over?
I played Mims over Bowden.
Oh yeah, that's stone bad. That's so bad. And I look. I will be honest with you. Like, I complimented your Ridley Kmet. That was clearly better than what I did. Mims over Lynn Bowden was so bad.
I tell myself every week, I got to write it into my code. Exclude Jets. I tell myself every single week. Yet every single week I run them up and I'm like, dude, one of these 3 Jets is going to do it. It's got to be Perriman. It's got to be Mims. These guys get the air yards.
Nate.
And every
Nate,
single week I fall into this trap. I don't know when I'm going to learn. Just stop playing Jets.
You literally said this last week. And Nate, do any of them get carries? No. But Lynn Bowden gets one carry every week. A little gadget equity goes a long
Dude,
way.
there literally is a guy. Shout out. His name on Twitter is @GadgetFloor, and he got his name from this podcast. And I need to have him tweet at you just how bad it was that you didn't play Lynn Bowden.
Yeah.
How many
roasted
rushing
down
attempts
the
did he
floor.
get? Did he get
I literally don't even think he had one.
Who?
But But literally, you know why he didn't get a rushing attempt today, Nate? Because he played like 95% of the snaps as a wide receiver.
He did get a rush attempt, and he got 7 targets. Like, he was 3.6. I mean,
Yeah, no, this is legit inexcusable from Nathaniel Nolan.
Stupid, Nate. What you doing? You can't play no Jets, bro. Like, get it.
Nate, he got a rushing attempt. He led the Dolphins in targets, and not only that, but they have a couple designed throwing plays for him too.
Dude, he's a freaking running back who like doesn't project for rushing attempts and these crappy routes at wide receiver when you have Denzel Mims who literally runs these 15 8-out routes.
Nate.
Denzel Mims is a legit player. Lynn Bowden is like, no,
Nate.
he runs these terrible routes.
Denzel, I mean, I agree with you. So at a very high level, I agree with you that Denzel Mims is like a legit NFL wide receiver. But no, this is terrible. This is Nate. Just admit it. Just admit it. It's terrible.
Just take it. You won money. Just have an L with your W. You just a little L. Come on, dude. Weren't you at all worried about Jalen Ramsey?
No.
Oh, Jalen Ramsey covering Mims. Oh, weren't you worried, bro?
I wasn't worried. I missed the play. I missed it. That was why it was a bad play, because of Jalen Ramsey.
Yeah, I'm glad that there was at least one thing you did that was mystifying and made no sense. Because I bet Mims in your games was owned like not at all.
Oh, none. Nobody.
Yeah, nobody had him because everyone played Lynn Bowden.
Because nobody went through their lineup and was like, you know what's really going to make this click is a little Denzel Mims. Like, bro, we've been there. We've done that. I mean, we've played Mims like, what, 2 or 3 weeks in cash this year? Right?
I
believe I've played Mims dose times. Yeah, well, I think I played him twice.
There was a lot of 3K wide receivers ever owned. It was Gallup. It was Bowden. It was Traquan. So, like, Mims was not even on the radar for most people.
So stylistically, though, I know what you're saying. Like, Mims goes down the field. He gets those prayer yards. Like, it is what it is. But when a guy's 3.5, I don't know. I kind of like having, like, a short reception floor.
Yeah, like he could get – like, I want him to be able to get 5.
Yeah, like Traquan Smith is, like, legit could get 0. I mean, Mims legit could get 0. That's the thing. I didn't think Bowden would ever get 0 in this spot once – I mean, that was a great piece of news, right? Gesicki and who else?
Gesicki, Jakeem Grant, and Devontae Parker were out.
It was like, dude, who else are they gonna throw to? Like, he is gonna get like 5+ targets here. I mean, very mystifying, Nate. Very mystifying. Good day for your brand, but this was bad.
About the upside, guys.
Yeah, this should have been a huge day for your brand. Like I mean, I know I didn't get rich on a day where Jalen Hurts went 40. Like I made a little bit of money, but I didn't make screenshot money.
Oh,
yeah,
I had a good day.
Should we talk about David Johnson and his receiving bonus?
I was going to say, I had a good day. David Johnson went nuts.
100-yard bonus for one Mr. D. Johnson.
David Montgomery went nuts. Cook, I mean, everybody. Yeah, all of the guys who have been seeing volume all year are now starting to finally see some actual points, which is good. But
you should be very rich. I feel bad for you that Darren Waller wasn't on this slate. He smashed on Thursday night.
I know. He smashed on Thursday. But really, like, my brand is doing well right now. I mean, all of the guys that I've been on all year are like, yeah, they're doing well, and then they're like 3K higher than they used to be, and everybody was like, why would you play them? People literally ripped on playing
Darren
Darren
brand,
Waller.
the big W of the week.
Darren Waller is just dunking over people all over the place.
Did you get some Darren Waller in the captain action the other night, kid?
Of course, that's the only way to. I mean, you can't play the Raiders without him. Like, you can't.
Yeah. Well, I mean, good. Hey, good slate, guys. It was a good slate.
Good slate. We all made one egregious mistake, and it ended
Yeah.
up not
Yeah. Oh man,
The listeners hate this show though. Like we're all happy, but the listeners hate
Yeah,
it.
they don't want
like
this.
It when we win.
I mean, at least we're giving them the tilt of this stupid Gallup Cowboys decision. I mean, just so freaking obvious. Like, it's obvious when you're doing it, and it's just total fear-based lizard brain nonsense. I don't know. Traquan honestly feels like someone incepted me. Like someone incepted me that he was a good play, but I never believed it. It's just so bad, dude.
What was Gallup to start the year? And we were all super. I mean, he was like 6K, and we were all like, "Gotta get in Gallup, and now he's 3.5.
Dude, he outproduced Amari Cooper last year.
I know, and now
Gallup,
he's like 3.5, and we're like, nah, let's get in some trade.
Well, I mean, two things happened. Number one, CeeDee Lamb came, so all they did with Gallup for most of the season is just run him up the sideline, and then Dak got hurt.
Well, that is so interesting, like anchor effect of people remembering that Gallup was the 9 route guy when Dak was healthy, but that's not true now. Gallup is getting good targets now. Like, he is running lots of good routes.
Yeah, well, he had 5 targets today. Let's not overrate because he caught a touchdown. He had 3 for.
Well, he got hurt. He got hurt in the third quarter and didn't come back.
Well, what do I know? I'm a fish. I played Traquan Smith. I mean, I'm just trying to make this excuse.
Yeah, note to self, never show the Jets in my optimals again, and never show Traquan Smith. Because there is just a little bit of there's just a little bit of because he was so good as a rookie you think he's good. Yes.
You played him on a show.
Well, the other thing.
So I remember it too. I have it. There's something in my brain that tells me Traquan Smith is good. I don't know if he made me money on Showdown or
no. I know.
There was an island game. I want to say it was a Thanksgiving game.
You are 100% correct against the Philadelphia Eagles on November 18th last year, or it is rookie year 2018. 13 targets, 10 receptions, 157 yards, and a touchdown.
So I definitely played him then, and that's why he continues to burn me these days because I still have that in the back of my head. It's mentally.
So I mean, part of the thing I was thinking is, look, sometimes they use Sanders a bunch, sometimes they use Traquan a bunch. I'm like, if one of them smashes, I have both. You know what I mean? And I didn't really consider enough that neither of them would smash. Well,
the degree to which Drew Brees' warmed over corpse is it's sad, dude. Taysom Hill is just better than him. Taysom Hill, in all of his wonderful mediocrity and elbow sleeves, is better than Drew Brees.
How about that sequence where Taysom Hill cucked us with Kamara twice at the goal line? He gets in. That was a touchdown.
And then the Latavius Murray.
I mean, so you think you have the false hope of Taysom's touchdown not being called in. You're like, oh my gosh, they're going to give it to Kamara. And then you're like, oh no, they're never giving this to Kamara. They're just going right back to Taysom.
They do a straight power play to Taysom and knock it in. And then Latavius catches along a 20-yard touchdown. On first down, they ran it to Kamara. And then they take Kamara out and pass it to Latavius for a 20-yard touchdown. It's like, dude, what's going on here? Kamara ended up getting that manufactured touchdown at the end. And I know it didn't matter that much because he was 75% owned, but still we felt like Kamara was going to be, and everybody did, just a huge smash at his price with Drew Brees back because Brees has no arm and he's just going to pepper Kamara with targets. That didn't happen. And I don't know why it didn't.
Yeah, I don't know either.
I know why it didn't because
Kamara was my favorite.
Brees literally couldn't even – I mean, it was the first play of the game, right? They call that the screen pass to – well, not even a screen. They don't even screen it. They just have the Kamara rollout. Brees throws it over the arm of the defensive lineman.
Yeah,
I mean, I've seen them run that play 200 times, and Brees threw it over Kamara's head, Yeah, and it's you're like, oh, man, this is going to be a long day.
Yeah.
I mean, it was. It was a long afternoon.
This is crazy. He ended with 6 targets, which tied for the team lead. It did not seem like that.
Drew Brees threw the ball 34 times. I don't know who he threw it to.
The whole game
Sanders only got 5
the
targets.
Chiefs throwing it to a bunch of scrubs like Hardman and Robinson and stuff like that, and then the Saints were throwing it to freaking Humphrey and Johnson and just like all these crazy people. It was just like, what's happening? It was a weird game, bro.
It was tilting, that's for sure.
Yeah.
So, Clyde Edwards-Helaire got injured.
Yeah,
at
how
the
bad
end.
was it? How bad
I
was
mean,
it?
I haven't seen a report yet, but I would.
He couldn't put weight on it and had to limp off the field.
Have you picked up Damian Williams in your
He
keeper
can't.
league?
I looked at the rules. He can't opt back in.
What?
Can't do it once you've opted out.
I mean, for next year, like in keeper leagues and stuff.
Oh, buddy, we're ready. We're ready.
We're in. Damian Williams, around.
Damian Williams has made me a lot of money. Cost me a lot of money. Probably close to lifetime even on Damian. No, made so much money on those playoff slates last year. But
Is your question, are we playing Le'Veon Bell next
the
week?
question is, at what price are we playing Le'Veon? Because Le'Veon at 4,600, I don't even think we have to think about it, but Le'Veon at 62. I mean, Le'Veon at Clyde Edwards-Helaire's price, right? 5,800, 5,900, 6,000. What are we doing?
I'm cool. But if he's 46, I'm in. I mean, so they play – who do they play next week? Oh, at home against the Falcons? Shoot. Yeah, you might have to play Le'Veon. If he's like over
No,
5K,
anyone but the Falcons, dude. Anyone but the Falcons.
I know, dude. If he's over 5K, I'm not quite sure. Like they're just. I mean, CH actually.
Well, it's not like they run the ball. Like it's not as if they make an F. I mean, Le'Veon Bell scoring a rushing touchdown on an option when Mahomes could have just scored himself is. Sammy, I don't know if I've ever been so mad in my life.
Yeah, that was wild. But they ended up with 29 rushes. Edwards-Helaire had 14 and Le'Veon had 15 in this game. And then Edwards-Helaire had 3 targets, Le'Veon had 1. So I don't know. Like they'll put Williams in on some third downs. Like it's not like Le'Veon will just be like an insane bell cow. Like I think they'll continue to rotate.
Well, I think also Le'Veon got shook up for a little bit, you know? So what if we got Darrell Williams and Darwin Thompson in next week?
Oh my God, dude! Don't ever mention Darwin Thompson to me again.
After we took him in the 8th round last year,
drafted him in the 8th round of that league last year. I can't believe we ended up winning. That was insane. Yeah, no more Darwin Thompson. Yeah.
All right. Let's see what other games do we have next week. We by the way, I hope everyone's very excited for Peter Overzet to very seriously play cash games in Week 17 and come on the Gillcast because that's in the works.
Oh, come on through, Pete. I mean, everybody needs some more Overzet in their life. Like he's like the breakout star, dude. I've been railing the Swolecast. It's so good. It's so good.
It is one of the worst shows of all time.
That is correct. I mean, someone was such a goat, and you got and he left, and it's like, oh, is it going to be any good anymore? And it's fantastic. Like Pete's just amazing.
Yeah. All right. So we have Giants Ravens. Yeah. Mark Ingram inactive in this game. Gonna have to be very. You guys are gonna have to restrain me from playing Dobbins. I think next week.
I mean. Yeah, I guess.
Depending
he was a pretty good play this week,
bad.
honestly.
Depending on his price, it won't be bad.
Yeah, I played Dobbins in the $200 double spy this week, getting super low ownership, and 15 points, not going to cut it at the running back position this week. Every running back smashed except for Kamara, honestly.
Yeah.
Are we playing David Johnson next week?
The Texans play home to the Bengals. Yeah, I got to think pretty strong chance of playing David Johnson.
Well, one of the things about DJ is that what was it? Duke and Procise were out today.
We're both out. Yeah.
So if that's the case next week, we'll have to consider it. What do you guys think the odds, if you were going to set a line on if I play Deontay Johnson next week in cash, Steelers at home against the Colts, what do you think that line is?
You will play him and he will get benched by the second quarter.
By the third.
He got benched last week.
Oh man, Hurts plays on the road. Hurts plays on the road in Dallas.
Dude, he's gonna be like
he's gonna be 7,000. He'll be 7,000.
Yeah, I don't think we can play him next week if he's that price. But this week it was like, ooh.
Hey, Davis, is it time to say that Kyler Murray and Lamar Jackson are basically fancy Jalen Hurts?
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. The most incredible thing about this Jalen game was he only rushed for 30-something yards?
No, he got over 50.
But he
Oh,
only
okay,
took off
you're
like
right.
I think he only took off like 3 or 4 times.
Yeah,
It
they
wasn't
were
that
not.
was
They were.
martial law.
He made a bunch of mistakes on zone reads. Obviously, he had a great game, and the Eagles were super competitive. But he made, just when I was watching on Red Zone, he made like 3 or 4 pretty clear mistakes on the zone read with Miles Sanders. So, I mean,
The
there's
bummer
more.
is that he's got this like thing with Greg Ward and just doesn't throw to any other wide receiver, and it's just Greg Ward season. And it's like,
Yeah, I wish it was Jalen Reagor season.
yeah, that would have been.
You know what I'd like to see is Austin Eckler be under 7K, and we can just run it back. He had such a crap game on Thursday night, but he's at home against.
If he is under 7K, he's got to be a jam, right?
I mean, so the thing about Eckler, and we've litigated this a bunch, but like when they
I'm still litigating it.
I mean, when they get down to the 1, bro, it is
It's Balazs season. Yeah.
And that's just so terrible.
Yeah, I mean, Montgomery is going to be Montgomery at 7,500 next week is going to project as a good value in our stuff, playing at the Jaguars, who by the way, if they are close to winning, they're gonna the city of Jacksonville might just like cancel the game because the Jets won this game and the Jaguars. Does anyone know why is it that the Jaguars at 1-15 get it over the Jets?
I think it's strength of schedule.
Yeah. Yep.
That feels like for a franchise altering decision, that feels insane.
Well, I mean, they have
a
list of like 10 tiebreakers, and strength of schedule is probably like 4th to 6th down. So at some point, you just gotta like go with it. But, I mean, it is the most It's like both the most Jets thing in the world and the most Ram thing in the world that the Jets won this game. Like the Jets just screwed their franchise probably for the rest of time because they won this game. I don't know how they won this game. Like the Rams have been blowing people up. Like what happened?
Tell you what, it wasn't through Denzel Mims.
Bro, it was through Ty Johnson.
Dude, Nate is sitting here and just like, man, if this game script had gone more Denzel Mims away, like, would have been a smash, bro.
I wonder, are we gonna see Christian McCaffrey back against the Washington football team?
What point do they have to like push him now?
I don't know, but he's been at practice this whole time. Like I don't know what their incentive is, but he's there. Man, imagine if the Broncos had a good quarterback. Because Fant and Judy and Hamler and Patrick all seem so good, and Drew Lock is just so bad, dude.
Yeah, I mean, dude, Tim Patrick is kind of legit, and if he's your number 3 receiver, I mean, Fant is that guy that you want all the shares of next year because we've talked about this before. He's one of the few tight ends that can make a catch and run of like 30 yards. I mean, when he gets going, dude, the guy's like just a complete train. You don't want any of that stuff. So I'm a
big Fant guy.
Yeah, I'm huge on him. He's going to be like one of my most owned best ball guys next year.
Yeah. All right, boys. Well, I think that will do it for us this week. Everyone, sorry to disappoint with winning weeks. We like to deliver you the sadness. I mean, there always is that upside when I have a winning week that I know at least the show is going to get a ton of clicks. But winning money does feel nicer. Yeah. Winning feels a little bit nicer.
Yeah, let's just buy Bitcoin at 24K with our winnings, and we're still going to profit.
Better investment. Bitcoin at 2,400. David Montgomery 8K on DraftKings. Which one are you trying to buy more?
It's not Traquan Smith. That's all.
No. Buy Traquan Smith at 1,800 on DK. I'm going to pass. All right, everyone. Thank you very much for listening to the Gillcast. We'll be back next week.